Okay, I'm 12 years old and I just came home from football practice. Okay, I walk into the living room. I see my dad watching TV. I was going to the kitchen to make myself a sandwich. My dad walks up from the TV. He stands up from the couch and he walks into the kitchen and he just randomly asks me, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I had thought about it a little, and I said to him, "I want to be an architect." Okay, he says, "Okay, cool. You want to see how much that makes, what your salary is?" And I was like, "Okay, cool." So my dad and I boot up like the computer, and we type in something like architect salary, and it turns out to be like an average architect makes around 4K per month, 3 to 4K per month. And me as a 12-year-old didn't really know what that meant. Was it a lot? Was it like little? And my dad starts saying like, "Oh yeah, okay. So if you study well and you put in a lot of effort, you get to get a job as an architect and you get to work and stuff. 40 hours a week, make like 3 to 4K a month. That's great. You'll be like retired when you're like 60, 65, and then you can do whatever you want." And I was standing there and I was saying, like, when the physical world, I was saying, like, okay, all right. But in the back of my mind, I knew something wasn't right. I got this very uncomfortable feeling because doing whatever I want when I'm 65, 65, 70, bro, I'm old. That's not what I want. I wanted to be free and travel the world and stuff and drive supercars, that's something. And I was like, oh, so that's what my path looks like right now. In my head, I was thinking that. But my dad kept on going like, "Oh, you're so lucky. You get to work and stuff, 40 hours a week, working a lot basically and getting very little back in return." That's what I got from like that conversation. At some point, I just go to bed and I'm just staring at my ceiling. Basically, I'm like this. And I was just thinking to myself, no, there must be another way. People are rich, right? How did they manage? So basically, the next day I go to school. I come home from school and I'm just on YouTube watching a video, and this video stood out to me. Yeah, it's called "How to Escape the 9 to 5" by Michael Drift or something, and it perfectly explains my situation. Right? In the video, there's this guy. He did everything right. He studied a lot. He went to college. He got a degree, and he got this job. Then it turns out that what he thought it would be, it didn't, like, his expectations didn't meet reality, and he was very disappointed. And basically the conclusion was that you need to be your own boss and start a business or something like that. But the point of my story is that people tell you what the right path is since birth, basically. I don't know about like you guys, but me personally, my parents always told me, "Oh, you're doing great at school. You're going to be so rich, and it's going to be amazing. Your life's going to be amazing. You're going to be very successful." And I still do well in school. So I always thought like, "Oh yeah, my life is going to be great." But then it turns out that they sold kind of this dream, this unreachable dream. So yeah, look out for that kind of information. If you don't believe me, right? If school clearly is the way, then ask yourself, what do you want to study when you're older, and what job does that lead to, and does that make enough money for the lifestyle that you want to live, right? Is it enough? I feel like what I've just told is just common advice. Most people have already know that school is not what it makes out to be, and that starting a business is probably the way to go. I think that's common knowledge right now. But back in 2019, surely wasn't. Those things weren't as discussed topics as it is now. My parents come from a different country. They come from like, I don't want to say, they come from like South America, and I think that life of school and then college and getting a degree and then a job, I think that's just normal, and I do believe that back in the day that would make you happy, but nowadays I just think you will turn out depressed. You work very hard for a degree, you work a job that you probably will hate eventually, and you only get to retire when you're 65. Something around that age. It might be higher now, actually. Since I was 5 years old, I've been indoctrinated with, like, oh, you need to get a college degree or else you won't be successful in life. And you get to retire when you're 65. Or if you don't get a college degree, you're basically a hobo, homeless. You're a homeless guy. You'll turn out homeless and begging people on the streets for money.